But as a teacher, I saw like the parents who would come in to like the art awards or whatever it is and tell me on the side, like, hey, thank you for what you do, but don't encourage him too much because we really want to make sure he goes into X and Y field. Then here's the next part of that story. That's like a kid who I have like 9th grade, right? Then by 11th grade, 12th grade, I've got to know the families, the kids kicking ass, maybe got a scholarship, maybe got multiple scholarships for their artwork. And now I get to know the parents. I have this one dad in my mind that I just never forget. He's like a symbol.
You get to the mom. So whoa, I had to. I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ.
This is the Inkpulp podcast.
Welcome to the Inkpulp podcast. Matteo's got his high now, as Eric experienced last time.
What's Matteo's high?
Matteo said hello. Remember last week we recorded? Matteo started with a hello, Eric, like his bye-bye, and you hated it. In his little Muppet voice. What's up, everybody? Here, the boys are back. Matteo, Eric, and Shawn are here, and we got a returning guest, our good friend Peter Santa Maria.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me back.
Good to be back, man.
Appreciate you guys. There's nothing, not a bigger honor in this post-COVID era than being asked back on a podcast. So I thank you guys. Appreciate that.
Why? Because everyone was desperate for content during COVID.
Well, at one point, yeah,
Everyone's dead.
But now it's like everybody's on everything. So if you get asked back, they're like, oh, okay, then it wasn't a total shit show the first time. Appreciate that.
No, dude, it was a great episode, and I do want to follow up on a lot of stuff we talked about. And also, we like you, Peter.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
By the way, Peter, I've been listening to some of the Phantom Drive songs.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I really, really like them.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
I like
it.
the sounds, the production, the songs. I mean, it's not exactly my genre because I'm more of the metal, the heaviest stuff, but great songs.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, there was a moment where that's all I did was music. It was my whole teenage years up to 22 or something like that. And like I said before, we had the luck of being signed at 19. And I just started to feel like I couldn't keep sustaining work based on 4 other creative eccentrics. And so I really wanted to branch out into doing something independent, which is why I started to focus back on my illustration and my artwork. And lovingly, and he said this in the most lovingly way, I think he meant it as a concerned parent would say, but one of my band members said, we've seen your art. Stick with the music.
Oh my God. No. And do you still speak to this person?
There's many layers to it.
And what do they have to say now?
It sounds like he wanted you to stay in the band.
Totally.
But at the same time, it was a pretty bad insult to your skills as an artist.
Well, to be fair, back then my art wasn't very good. And it wasn't the same era that we're in. It's like hard to imagine getting better, outside of like traditional courses and classes and in-person stuff. So, But yeah, we're still very good friends, and he's very proud of all the work I've done. And
awesome. I
don't hold any ill will to anybody. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing, man. We were kids.
Of course. Yeah.
Sure.
Did you fight back then? Did you have an argument with that? With him?
Okay. Very in all seriousness, I've always I've always looked for guidance and direction. Now a little less so, but when I was younger, a lot. And because I didn't know what to do. I talked about it last time a little bit, but growing up in Miami, there's no sense that this is a real career that you can have, right. And definitely not in our world that I loved and cherished so much growing up. I didn't just want to be an artist. I wanted to go to Comic-Con and matter at Comic-Con. Like that was very important to me. And it's because I have so much respect. Like to me, still comic illustrators is peak. Like everything else is like a distant second, with all due respect. It's just that is peak to me because it's the consistency, it's the stylization that has to read across multiple pieces of artwork and your storytelling and you're actually, manifesting these characters that people need to relate to. And sometimes that's as simple as a facial expression in the right moment. It just meant the world to me. And I also grew up in the same era where the image guys were the rock stars, and what's his face, Liefeld was doing jeans commercials. So I just had a different upbringing in that regard. So I looked for mentoring constantly, and there was nowhere to find it at the time. And that's why I think we talked about it a little bit last time, but I think that's part of what kind of built this hustler energy into me, is that I'm searching constantly. I'm trying to find an answer constantly. And I got used to being told no. And like we talked about, publicly humiliated with rejections. And I just got numb to it, and so I'm grateful for that.
That alongside with being a fat kid.
Being a fat kid is a big advantage, turns out. Yeah. Finally paid off.
Eric, weren't you a fat kid as well?
Yeah, I still am.
Do I remember correctly?
I mean, I'm a fat old man now. So I've never really truly gotten over it.
I'm reminded of my inner fat now that I'm trying to do some intermittent fasting, and I'm like at 10 p.m. I'm like fucking brutal right now. I need to shove something sweet in my mouth real bad.
Dude, sugar's the killer, man. Sugar's the killer.
It's awful.
That's the hard
Peter, can
one.
I follow up on something that you said earlier, which I kind of put, you okay, Maddie? Or a ghost showing up in your
There's
house?
a fucking fly, and it's driving me crazy. Jesus.
All right. We don't see it. We think you're lying. It's okay.
Or maybe it's just in my head, just a fly in my brain.
It's the birds.
That's all right, man. It's time to get back on that medication. It's okay if you're seeing things again. We're all friends.
Or maybe he's seeing things because of the medication, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You guys, we have a guest. Calm down. You said something interesting. You said you wanted to do something, or forgive me if I'm paraphrasing this incorrectly. You wanted to do something that mattered at Comic-Con. What did that mean for you? What does that mean? Like, what does something matter mean?
Yeah. So, I Comic-Con when I was younger was this impossible. Well, first of all, I didn't even know it existed.
Sure.
Until I was like 18
Give
years
us a time
old.
frame. What was the decade? Is it 90s? Is it early 2000s?
Yeah, in the late 90s when I was starting to, since Image started, I was all in on comics and those Marvel Series 2 cards when I was like 10, 11 years old. And so, but I thought it was just something that existed in this, ephemera. It was like this, it didn't exist on a physical plane somehow. And so when I realized that Comic-Con was a thing, and I think I found out about San Diego Comic-Con by accident, searching up generic or general Comic-Cons, and I stumbled across comic-con.org, and it was this whole, it's still a terrible website, but it was really bad back then. And you just had to it didn't feel real. It's like, everyone is going to be there. Like everyone is going to be literally Frank Miller, Neil Gaiman, Mike Mignola, everyone's going to be there, and you could just go. And so we bought tickets thinking it was just some average con, and we get there and I was like blown away that there was a physical place where all my heroes were at, being, and I got the first one I went to, I think was 2002 or 2003.
So sorry to interrupt. You made a pilgrim. Were you always East Coast? You made a pilgrimage
Miami,
to San Diego.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me and my and my
by the way,
exactly. Out of
once
respect,
again,
good for you. Who is that, by the way? Is that Zoe?
It's Zoe. I don't know if you remember, but I had another Miami jersey.
Is that your team?
Last episode. No, I just collect jerseys. But since I knew that you were born and raised and still live in Miami, I was like, I gotta do it.
Yeah. Well, so, I got on it's the first time I ever got on a plane as an adult, or I don't even remember being on a plane before that. I was like, as a baby, I was on a plane. So I bought a plane ticket with my then ex-girlfriend. We went to San Diego, and I remember walking in, and it felt like the inside of the building was bigger than the outside city. It was so insane.
For sure.
And so just being there and meeting everybody, and just you could walk up to these tables and people would draw something, and you could just talk to Joe Quesada. It was like so freaking wild. And then I think it was watching them talk to each other, all the creators, and have small talk and inside jokes and all that. I'm like, oh, this is a community of people, you know, and I just felt like I had to come back, and I came back the next year. I think I came back in 2007. And in 2007, I was walking around trying to show off my artwork to people to see if there's anything I could do professionally. And I was talking about it last time, I think, but I was basically doing these stop motion film sets where I would build the puppets, create the costumes, and I was taking photos, stills, and then I would lay out like comic title logos and number boxes to see like, is this a thing that people would be into?
Yeah.
I had seen these Batman covers back in the day where there was like a Batman clay sculpture hanging from like a building, and that was a cover, and there was like a gargoyle one as well. I can't remember exactly. And I go, oh, there's at least precedent. But I brought it around and I showed everybody. I remember Bob Schreck was like, you're actually like an artist. Like, you don't he said something to the fact of like, it's a little too artsy for what we do. It won't work, but I'm sure you'll be very successful elsewhere. He kind of told me. And so I told myself at that point, and this is a long-winded way of answering your question, but I told myself, don't come back to Comic-Con until you have something to offer. This is too good. This is like a banquet. This is like this is everything. This is treasure, and you don't deserve it unless you have something to contribute. And so I had that mentality of like, just go and figure it out. And then when you're ready, come back. And it was until 2019, because by the time I thought I was ready, I couldn't get in. So it was until 2019.
Yeah, that's like a decade later. It sounds like, if I'm tracking the time right. Okay.
Yeah, 12 years. 12 years later, I got an opportunity to go to the convention because of a nonprofit organization called the Kevin Workman Foundation. And they saw my work. One of the representatives, Renee Lafargue, a hero of mine, saw my work at DesignerCon and said, you should apply for this grant. And the grant, if you win it, you get an all expenses paid trip to Comic-Con, including a corner booth. You know?
Holy cow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
I got it, and, which was insane. And I got to go, and literally being at Comic-Con in a corner booth was such a force multiplier. It's literally like starting the game on easy mode. And I got to be exposed to everybody. And that's how I met Dave Alpert from Skybound, who ended up hiring me as an artist in residence. It's how I met the Mondo team at the time, and who gave me my first gig doing posters with them. And so many doors opened up from that. That it just felt like kind of like a simulation working, and that you put the energy into a certain thing, stay on it, stay consistent, take the beatings, take the many, many nights thinking, what the fuck am I doing? Right. And just stay on it. And I got to the point where I realized that the fun part was the hustle and the grind, not the arriving at the destination. In fact, now I'm living in what I consider a version of the destination, and the quest is figuring out how to regain that sense of chasing something that's still, that's the big thing now.
Can we talk about that, Peter? Yeah, can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, hear about that.
Yeah. So like, I am essentially a senior creative director at Mondo.
I'm sorry, guys. This fucking fly, and then it keeps.
I put a Post-it note over your screen just so you know. I have no idea what you're up to. No, I'm just kidding. You get one of these, and you go, okay, Matteo's going to be on a fly, so I don't see. I'm kidding. I would never. But yeah, a large series of events took place, including working at Skybound. Shout out Robert. I love that episode you guys did. He's so good, man. I keep waiting for him to have some weird Hollywood moment where he becomes big time, but it's just not him. He's been the same dude, and he's such a good one.
Robert's great.
Yeah. And so working there, I learned a lot about the business, what it means to be an artist in a professional sense, watching other artists like Daniel Warren Johnson come up with the work he was doing there, and just really understanding it from this perspective. And then when the opportunity came to work at Mondo as a senior creative director, I jumped at it, because I wanted to prove that I had more up my sleeve, more to offer than just being an artist for hire. I wanted to show that I could work and help other artists, and that's my teaching background coming through. And so now that I'm at Mondo, now almost 3 years, it's amazing because you kind of get to unlock for people. You get to unlock things for people,
sure.
And when the opportunity is right and the right person is available, you can really create something special. Just as a quick aside, we got to work with Samford and Jim on that poster together, having them work together for Mondo at Comic-Con. They did a Spider-Verse poster. And it really felt like my 2003 self that saw Jim Mahfood in person for the first time and sketching these incredible, like, you know, live illustrations in Artist Alley. And I go, shit, it's like 22 years later. And now I get to use Funko's money to commission the ultimate Jim Mahfood piece, a jam piece with Sanford Green. And we put it out there on display, and it was like everybody was losing it for it, you know? So
that's awesome.
That is the thing. So now I feel like I'm very situated, very like my role is very defined. And I get to do my artwork and release it through Mondo whenever I want. We do figures, and it's just a dream come true. I work with a team of incredible people that remind me of that feeling at San Diego Comic-Con when I would see the other artists and creators feel like they had a network. It reminds me also of opening up a Marvel comic when I'm 10 years old and seeing inker, letterer, artist, writer. And I'm like, these guys probably work together in the coolest freaking office ever, dude. You know? And so I'm so grateful for all of that. Now the quest is how far can I move the goalpost for myself? Because I feel like the danger is getting to a point where it becomes routine. Or right, and you feel like this is my normal life. You know, the same way when you're sick, you feel like I just want to feel better. Everything else suddenly is not important. I just want to feel better. So now, you know, if I get to the point where this is the norm, you know, like being healthy is the norm, I need to put myself in an uncomfortable position to get out of it, to grow again. And I'm always
so basically
this
episode basically is your resignation letter.
No,
Mondo,
that's
right?
too hard.
Are you going to show them this?
No. Truly, it's.
Well, to be fair, right? Being on this episode and on this podcast, it's almost like
potentially, in other ways, it could be.
It's an invitation to get fired from someplace for sure. Make yourself, at the very least, make yourself unhireable anywhere else. You know, so
I feel like I started unhireable.
Peter, I wanted to ask you something, and this is something that I ask every time we have a guest. That because my whole professional career, I've always been doing one thing, which was comic books. I mean, I dipped my toes here and there in animation, doing some character design, but it's more or less the same thing. So, what's your the routine you were describing? So what do you do at Mondo? What's your a day of work for you?
What would you
usually?
say you do here? Remember in Office Space? When they, no. Well, it's interesting. I have kind of like two major categories that my days fall into. One of them is essentially a broad sweeping art director with Hector Arce, my partner in crime at Mondo. We're both the senior creatives here. So together we plan the year. Like, what are we going to release this year in terms of figures? Like what, you have to make sure you have enough releases. So all the studios that you have a license from get their money, right? And they feel like their licensing to you is worthwhile. So you have to plan it very strategically, make sure we're doing things that are like the right hype moments, make sure that we're not loading up too much in one month. Like, let's say you can't do more than 1 or 2 He-Man releases in a month because the fans like, bro, this stuff's expensive. I need to spread it out. And then I get into the nitty gritty, where, you're actually art directing projects. So whether it's, sculptors or concept artists, people who are working on posters, people who are working on album artwork for the records, just looking at all that, making sure that the artist feels supported and it has the right, like the right tracks and parameters. Like, hey, this is what we want. This is what we love about your work. This is what we think would shine in this project. Can you bring that into it? And then, checking in with them.
Gotcha.
I have art directors under me, so I talk with them and make sure that they know what we're all looking for.
That's great.
And that's one side of the job. The other side of the job is kind of being like a brand face, so I kind of represent us with Hector on a lot of, whether it's like interviews or doing press at the conventions or like hosting our YouTube channel. And I think that's actually worked out quite well because I am a Mondo art. I was a Mondo artist. I was an artist who got a gig at Mondo, and that really helped transform my career. I believe so strongly in the concept of Mondo, which is a company that's truly run by artists. And now that I'm in here, I see how rare that is. Hector is an incredible sculptor, painter. Like, he's the real deal. I have an artist career of my own that's kind of existed for like 10 years before I got this job. So when someone talks to us and inquires about us, it's rare that the artist is also someone who's running part of the business and managing the business. That's very rare, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
Peter, I want
That's
to
awesome.
ask.
Thanks, man.
I want to ask you a few things. First, I want to circle back to something you were saying earlier. What?
I'm worried that you're not going to be able to think about that question that you wanted to ask.
I mean, you got 40 minutes, so we're waiting.
All right.
Nobody talks, please.
Hold on.
No, well, actually,
Don't
Peter, I want to
distract me.
ask you. You've got your
He's
art
jumping to the
career.
other question.
Yeah, I am. You've got your art career. Well, because there's no point in going back. You've got an art career and you've got your Mondo career.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, how do you balance the two? And do you feel like you're being pulled in two different directions? And like, is it constant?
It's constant, but it's also my norm. I think I mentioned it last time, but I was a teacher for 13 years, teaching art in like all ages, everything from kindergarten all the way to University of Miami, sometimes multiple at the same time. And those responsibilities were constant. Like, literally, you have kids in a classroom. You have to make sure they are taken care of, that they are learning something meaningful that they can practice in class, right? And I used to do my work when I felt like I got everybody. I taught a skill, like a digestible skill for the week. Let's focus on this week, right? Then they would go ahead and work on that. And I would be able to work alongside them on a similar version of the skill, like implementing it with my artwork. And so it's constantly interruption. Help this person. Hey, stop here. Help this kid. Hey, you got to talk to this kid. So put this down for a second. And with Mondo, it's very similar. Like, I'm in meetings a lot of the day, and a lot of those meetings, I'm literally carving at the same time as I'm talking to people. And or I'm working on concept art when I'm talking to people, or I'm tweaking a sculpt while I'm talking to people. And I actually enjoy it. It's the norm for me. So I don't know much. I don't know anything different, to be honest with you. I've never had the pleasure to be able to just focus on art only. Okay, it's always just been.
Is that a skill that you've always had? Meaning being able to having an actual conversation with a person and actually like actively listening, and at the same time doing art? Because I would never be able to do that. Well, unless the conversation I'm having is really simple and
Yeah, I think it's a skill that I aspired to, and one that I remember, again, going back to Comic-Con. What do you guys do in Artist Alley, man? Like, you're working on commissions or like whatever it is, and every 5 seconds someone's coming up to ask you something or stop you, and you want to talk to the fans or walking up. So I remember, like, again, talking about Scott Morse, Jim Mahfood. Those are the guys that would make insane stuff at their booth, like Art Adams, like not just a cool little Sharpie sketch, like really intensely good stuff. And you could walk up to them and they'd be happy to talk to you. And I remember thinking, like, that's the goal. The goal is that. And I didn't know how I would train that muscle, but teaching really was that, because my only other option was not work on artwork anymore and then become like one of those sad art teachers. If you remember, you had really kick-ass art teachers that were enthusiastic, and some of the sad ones that you could tell are just kind of like, mourning the days when they used to work on their stuff as well.
Yeah, that's a darkness right there.
It's true.
I saw a lot of that when I was teaching.
Yeah.
Or for some of them, what?
No, the podcast got sad quick. I saw, like, because in between Shawn and Matteo, who used to teach in art schools, I saw like dark clouds fall over their heads collectively when you said that you could become the dark art teacher, and I saw just like it just desaturated both of their cameras. I don't know if that's built-in function into like it's hooked up to a mood ring or something, but it got dark on both of their cameras.
It's such
Peter,
can't figure it out.
Before you ask, Shawn, you were here before, and to the spirit of Matteo's question was, like, I asked this of all our guests. You were here before, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't here, but I managed to watch maybe 10, 15 minutes of the episode. And I'd realized, this guy is super legitimate. He seems very cordial. Clearly you've built up this muscle for being able to like negotiate dum-dums, and then you were like, let me come back to another episode. Here's what I asked first time guests. Like, what you've watched the show. What are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, let me protect you from yourself. But then the difference this time is you've been to Jurassic Park. You know what I mean? The dinosaurs have chased you around, right? And you were like, let me go back again. They didn't fix the park. The dinosaurs are still out shitting on people.
I think Peter wanted to verify if it was real or it was just a weird day.
Fever dream.
Now he knows that this.
Here's the part that makes me nervous. Okay, the guy next along with his other art director pal, he used a term that I'm like, get out of Jurassic Park, which is, he said like, oh, I'm a brand ambassador for Mondo. I'm like, what are you doing with the poison spitting shit flinging dinosaurs? You know what I mean? I'm nervous for you, pal.
Let me pay you a compliment, all three of you. After doing the show the first time, to this day, like usually I do an episode of something and I'll get people hitting me up the day after, maybe a couple of days after. Hey, I saw the show, really cool, yada yada, or they discovered me on the show, really cool. Up to last week, I'm getting people who didn't even know I was on the episode, but I think you guys, Matteo posted like a clip. And like everybody went
recently
back.
We posted a clip.
Yeah. And so when I first did it, a ton of people started following me and hitting me up and saying, didn't know about your work and all this. And, awesome. and now all over again with those clips, it happened all over again, which is why I reached out to Shawn. Like, we should do it again. I had a really good time. And I feel like we just scratched the surface, talking with each other. I'm also big fans of all you guys, and I love the work you do. And,
Peter, I don't know if if Shawn remembered to tell you. So the first one is free. Second one, you have to wire some money.
Oh, you didn't get the email? My appearance is the payment.
I think Matteo didn't read the fine print of the contracts every time that we have somebody. It's the other way, which is the first one is free. The second one we keep paying you to come back.
Okay. Residuals.
So we owe you some
confusion between the rewards. Okay.
Good. But the suffering dum-dum thing, is a joke, but or the brand ambassador thing, it's a kind of a snooty title. It sounds like a fucking up your own ass thing. The way I think about it is, I just want people. I remember being a teacher. Well, I remember being a kid and thinking there was no hope as an artist. Like, there's just everybody at the best, they would tell you, have a plan B, right? At best, that was the most generous thing you could be told. But as a teacher, when I already knew I could do it, at least make money as an art teacher. That's legit. You get to do your artwork, teach art, make kids feel good about themselves, and get, pay your bills. I saw like the parents who would come in to like the art awards or whatever it is. These kids who are like, dude, I had a kid in 6th grade that could outdraw a lot of professionals that I work with right now. And his dad was just kind of like, it's pretty cool. I'm like, do you fucking understand that he's like channeling alien energy here, dude? Like, and it was just like this. It blew my fucking mind, and it made me realize that at the time, my real job is not to teach them how to render in 3D or whatever. My real job is to really solidify in their brain that it's their choice if they don't want to pursue this, but That's awesome. Can pursue it. And it's a real fucking job. And I would bring in any friends that I had who were professionals at the time. I mean, I would even show them like Jeff DeCal's work. Like, this is a Miami guy. This is a Miami guy who's made it on Marvel covers. Look at him. This is real, Right. And then I would have the parents come in and tell me on the side, like, hey, thank you for what you do, but
that's awesome.
Don't encourage him too much, because we really want to make sure he goes into X and Y
field.
Then here's the next part of that story. That's like a kid who I have like 9th grade, right? Then by 11th grade, 12th grade, I've got to know the families, the kids kicking ass, maybe got a scholarship, maybe got multiple scholarships for their artwork. And now I get to know the parents. I have this one dad in my mind that I just never forget. He's like a symbol.
You get to fuck the mom. So whoa! I had to. I'm sorry. Jesus. I'm sorry, Peter. Sorry,
bro. So dark. Holy shit. Holy shit.
Matteo just broke the podcast.
Oh,
Sorry, for a second.
oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, I'll try to bring it back on the rails with like a nice sweet
man.
moment
Sorry.
that happened. Holy shit. Put that
like,
one on
do-
Patreon.
Do I say it or not? Do I say it?
I saw the little horns on Matteo
Oh,
rising.
that was the fly, dude. The fly was like the Antichrist fly that lands on you.
That's the reason why it's not
Smells
around
like
anymore.
sulfur, you know?
It entered my head and now it's my brain.
Oh my
It's
God,
controlling
dude.
me. The fly.
So I'll just say I had this
It
dad
was such
who
inspirational space.
Sorry. That's why I kept saying it. Sorry. I
love it.
I couldn't resist because I wanted to.
It was
to
peanut
leave
butter and
Peter
chocolate,
the
Matteo. It
space
was
for
so
this
good.
important thing.
So I would say this dad was a very well-known judge in Miami, like legit.
Oh, shit.
Like his face is like you vote for him every year, all that kind of shit.
Right.
And he was one of the hard asses telling me not to encourage his kid too much, you know. And then by the third year, I'm getting to know this family. He starts to tell me that he has a side fun project he does where he photographs and he goes to the NBA games. And I think he pays someone to sit on the sidelines and take photographs for his own entertainment, for his hobbying. And then senior year, this kid's graduating. And so he comes up to me and goes, hey, I want to thank you for not listening to me, ninth grade, right? Because the kid not only got really, really great, but he's also had a sense of self. Yeah. And I think that's the one thing that we don't really teach in schools is like, don't just learn something, figure out how to build yourself out of what you're learning. Like whatever it is, find yourself in this, find your quest line in this, and find a North Star that keeps pulling you, or else you're just going to like be a passive NPC on this journey. And so he goes, I really wish someone encouraged me that way because I fucking hate my career. I fucking hate my job.
Oh, wow.
I fucking hate what I do all day. And I wish I could I wish I could be $100,000 a year poorer to be able to work on what I want to work on. And that cemented. I believed what I was saying.
That's profound. Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't, but that made me like galvanized.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you do
That's
me
an
a
awesome
favor?
story, man.
Jamie, right around the time where Matteo goes in there and just shits all over the place, can you have like multiple dinosaurs a la Jurassic Park just come in and destroy the podcast?
That's the clip,
because see how amazing the ending of that story was? An older gentleman well onto his way in his career making
That's
multiple
why I
hundreds
was
of
really
thousands of
conflicted
dollars.
because I was kind
You
of
weren't
getting
conflicted.
more or less where the story
You
was
were
going.
not-
Wait,
you
wait.
weren't.
He's like a
Matteo-
sniper in Call of Duty. He was just like,
Matteo, the fact that you're conflicted makes it worse because you knew you shouldn't do it, and you're like, "I'm doing it."
No.
Yeah. But at least I thought about it. I wasn't just like, oh, God, I was like, cue that. I mean, it's still good not to be sad.
it's so good. It's so good.
So fun.
I like
your
it.
your delivery
listen,
with your
for the
acting and
record-
everything was money.
Yeah.
For the record, I do not think he was conflicted. I think he was just waiting. There were 3 areas where he was like, I should say it now. Wait, nope. I should say it now. No, wait. I should say it
He was
now.
stalking like a shark, dude. He was in there. The little
Well, especially
foot dangled.
because if you think about the beginning of the story, the dad is acting like a dick.
Yes.
So you want that kind of release of I fucked his wife.
I didn't want that.
You
I
want
didn't
that kind of release.
For the record, if anybody's watching, I didn't want it personally. It's a choose your own adventure book, and Matteo skipped to the page where that's what
I skipped
happens.
to page 35.
Oh my god.
That's so awful.
But yeah, like it. In all seriousness, I did grow up unsure of my gut feelings.
Yeah.
And things like that along the way are the reasons why I think I'm able to just push through now. Now I look at the journey ahead and I go, it's going to be hard because delving in and giving time and energy to anything is difficult, and the opportunity cost is always great. I can spend more time with my family, more time with my friends, right? Whatever. But I know now that the majority of my let's say, I used to worry about competition. I used to worry about people who are way better at me, way more qualified. And now I just go, I don't think the majority of them have in their head what it takes to do this. I think the majority of them have parts of the skill set, but I feel like I have at least a little bit in every skill tree that I can keep pushing forward. And I tell people all the time, like, you can do it. It's not that hard.
Yeah. But I think everything that you're talking about comes in certain phases, right? Like when you're young, you're tuned into a very specific frequency, which is here's everybody's competition. Here's where I'm irrelevant, hoping to be relevant. And you start crossing these sort of like markers in your life where you go like, oh, okay, that becomes less important now. Or it, like you said, it galvanizes you to be like, actually, these are the things that are so much more important to me. Now it starts to become more about your family. Now it starts to become more about the time spent at your desk. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to understand, and the reason why I think we talked about this, guys, behind offline or sometimes even before we go live, where we have had points in our life where we go like, this might not, well, maybe not Matteo, because I think his parents were incredibly supportive, about you becoming an artist full time. But I think I'll speak for me, I guess, in a way that, hey, I remember my family saying, if you're going to be an artist, you're probably going to starve, or like that you're especially coming from a background of academics, like to think that a kid is going to come up. It's not because at least in my case, it's not because they disapproved. They just didn't have a point of reference.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like
Well, especially because, correct me if
ahead.
I'm wrong, Eric. Sorry to interrupt, but this goes along with what you were saying. Like, you're Asian, and from what I hear in general, like, in Asia, there's a lot of the culture of my son has to become either a doctor or,
for sure.
But X job
Same with
depending
Cuban,
on which area of the.
Yeah.
Oh, are Cuban families like that too?
Oh
Peter?
yeah, my Filipino friends and I would always like, and I had some Chinese Jamaican friends growing up, and we're like, yo, are we the same? Like, our families were so similar in that it was very much, and I don't know if it has to do with being immigrant families.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, because you always feel like you're about to lose it all again. And you're like, and everyone loves the culture. Like, they're so proud of me, and they're always tell me all the time. And they used to they sacrificed a lot for me to try to achieve some of these things. My parents, my grandparents, but it was always with this air of like,
we hope that works.
Yes.
Right, right.
And that would make me nervous.
I think
there's
it is an
something to be
immigrant
said
thing.
about like, there's something to be said about even at that height of risk, where they don't have a point of reference, they don't know what good looks like. Now, I suspect all your nieces or all your, immediate close family that's younger than you, they're like, yeah, just do what Peter does. Like, you
that's my hope.
That's
my hope.
But I think that's what happened. That's what's happened to me. But at the time, I didn't have that point of reference, or they didn't have that point of reference. So it was always a careful. So it's nice to know. It's nice to hear verbiage like that. It's nice to hear rhetoric like that, where it's like, at some point, this is what you're worried about, because that's all you're trying to do is pathfind your way through whatever version of your life you're going through. Yeah. And eventually, hopefully, with enough tenacity and obviously luck that stack in your favor, you're going to cross a threshold where you're like, here's now the frequency that you're paying attention to. This is the stuff that you're paying
100%. You nailed it. Yeah. And I think it's been my goal and it's been my driver. Like, talking about pushing the goalpost back, I was referring specifically to like creative goals. Like, what can I do as an artist? Right. But my consistent, constant North Star is, how do I tell someone that you can do this shit? You might not be ready yet. Your artwork might still be a little bit dog shit, or you might be thinking you're all good because you're in like a bubble of everybody who tells you how great it is, especially on the internet. But it is doable. It is doable. Yeah. And even though the landscape's changing, and even though AI is an intimidating thing for a lot of us, it just means that you need to adapt and change what the skill set you're bringing in is going to involve. And I think that's why this podcast and ones like it are so important, because it's three people who do the thing literally and are adapting constantly. Shawn, when you started tattooing, I thought that was so impressive, because I'm like, it's daunting to go, now I'm going to learn a brand new application of my skills and be at the bottom again. When you were at the top, you're going to be at the bottom again. And how does that feel? Right. And I'm assuming it's very rewarding, because we don't get that opportunity to be at the bottom very often.
This gets into the first question I wanted to ask you. And because you were saying you didn't want to get to that point where you were comfortable, for lack of a better word. So I was going to ask you, what are you doing to prevent that? Because for me, it wasn't even part of the plan, to go into tattooing to help my art everywhere else, or to help my mental state everywhere else. It was more about this will help me survive so I can do creator-owned comics. But in that journey, I'm like, I think this is the best thing any artist can do when they get to like a certain level where they're comfortable or getting comfortable or they're good at what they do, is to throw yourself into something entirely new that you can put your art into and challenge yourself creatively and put yourself back at the bottom, like you said.
100%. For me, the goal for me now is to publish, something. That's the one I would love to do.
You want to do interior work?
I'll never be yes, but I'll never be able to keep up the work that I do. It takes so long to fucking carve shit. But I am 50% through a book for my original IP for Takaro that I was doing at Skybound, and
Right.
I'm working to regain those rights now that we share the rights, and I'm working to get them back fully. They've been amazing with me. Like Robert's company they're really good people, and they're working with me in a way that I don't think other people would have the fortune of having. But that's a goal for me, is to put the book out to show in a way. It's like the art style is weird. Now it's more normal. I mean, it's been around forever. Block printing. I didn't invent the style, but it wasn't in pop culture. And so I'd love to launch a brand new IP with an unusual art style in a space where it has the mark of a known comics publisher or book publisher, to kind of continue to say, do the weird thing, try the weird thing. Your stuff doesn't fit in. Cool.
Right.
It's all good. Probably we're going to be better for you bringing it to the table. And I just want to do that. I want to do that. And it's really hard. Writing is really freaking hard for me. It's hard for me to bring I feel like my brain has to do this and align like in a very tight way, where normally it's like all over the place.
For sure.
And so I have it, luckily I've worked with Jared Rosello, a great friend of mine who wrote the majority of the script, and I'm still refining it. Still not exactly where I want it to be, but that will be the thing. Putting together a sequence of artwork, all block print, lino cut, ink drawings.
Dude, that's
a thing that I'm like, that itches at me. That feels like it. That's something that's on my back. Like, you're not going to do it. You don't have what it takes to do it. You can't do it. So that thing kind of like, that gets me going.
So do you get frustrated at the things getting in your way of making that vision become a reality?
No, because the things getting in my way are fucking awesome. Like,
all right, okay.
The thing is, like, I'm at this amazing point right now. For example, right before Comic-Con, I got to contribute a piece of artwork for Alien Earth, and I created a design for that show that's on now.
Oh, shit.
And
Awesome.
It was really cool that FX reached out to Mondo. They said, we want 4 original pieces of art to celebrate the show. We're going to give them away at Hall H. And so they put your artwork on Hall H on the big monitor with your name. So fucking cool.
Oh, wow.
And so like that derailed something that I was working on, but I'm like, good. Like, this is like one of those things. Like, worst case scenario, if I ever get to the point I don't finish the thing, it'll be because other awesome things got in the way, or because I was, working really hard to get our team like stronger and put together. I really feel that's part of the mission too, is to be the loudmouth at the company, to let everybody know that we have a murderer's row of sculptors and painters and concept artists. And I really do equate our toy team right now. Look at this shit. I say toy, but look at this. Like, I don't know if you guys are Master of the Universe fans, but I just got this in.
Oh, Eric is a huge Master of the Universe fan.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you've seen this buzz off, dude. This shit like is insane.
Crazy.
And
That's crazy.
You're right. And so I really feel we're at a point as a company that is on par with where comics creators were in the early mid 90s, where you would know the names, you seek them out. My goal has been that every sculptor on our company, you should know who they are. The painters, you should know their names. The concept artist, the guy who designs everything. And it's partially my love for image and what happened back then, partially my love for Howard Stern and how you would know, Scott the engineer or whoever it was. But we're at this past San Diego Comic-Con, people were walking up to meet them. And so that's really
awesome.
something that I love giving energy to. So if I don't get to the book one day, I'm going to do it. But if I ever don't, it'll be for good reasons like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the fact that I was, thinking about various things, some things that you were talking about in the previous episode as well, which is you were talking about your family and you said they were very blue collar, but very supportive.
Yeah.
And I found myself in that because I had the same kind of parents. And then I was thinking about the parents of that kid, of the students of yours. And sometimes I feel, although we had no money, I feel so lucky of being, raised in that kind of environment, because I'm thinking if I had like a rich dad that was a doctor or a lawyer like that guy, like probably if you're too insecure, having a kind of, this strong figure that basically is carving the path for you, it's basically kills you.
It kills that sense of I have to build for myself.
Sense of self. Yeah. As you were mentioning.
It can.
Yeah.
Not always, right?
Yeah.
But it can.
Yeah. Exactly. And the fact that my parents didn't have any special job, just jobs that they loved.
Yeah.
It was the right balance. I don't know if your parents had jobs that they loved as well.
We're all teachers. We're all teachers.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so they did love it, but it was also a very tangible thing. Like if you want to be a teacher, it's hard. You don't get paid well, but you can do it. Yeah. There's a clear path. I remember to what you're saying, Matteo, I remember a lot of the encouragement I would get would be watching like director's cuts of DVDs and hearing the directors talk about how difficult this was. And that's when I fell in love with Guillermo del Toro, because his director's cuts, if you've never listened to them, they are like sermons. Like they're incredible. And I was watching the director's cut for Blade 2. I was so excited that there was going to be a Hellboy movie. I'm like, what the fuck? And so I just wanted to dissect everything Del Toro. And I would watch every director's cut. And I remember him literally saying, like, talking about how difficult it was growing up, where he grew up. Similar, like you don't know how you're going to make this happen, but you just do it. And there's a quote that literally lives in my head forever. When there are no roads, make them. Make a road. Yeah. But imagine that concept. Make a road. Make a road means like create something that doesn't exist. People are going to be like, what are you doing? There's not supposed to be a road there. You know what I mean? Like this is, and that energy is something you just have to put your head down and go, I'm just building a road. Later, you can use it if you want. You don't have to thank me. I'm building a road. Yeah. I'm building a road. Absolutely. So I'm going to build a road. And that is so big also, for me.
Yeah. And also there's this other thing that goes along with what you were saying, more or less, which is learning how to work around the problems. Yeah. Because most of the time, like I'm imagining, even when I was a kid, and it came out lately because I have my son likes Lego. Mm-hmm. So I decided, I still had my old Legos. So I decided to grab them all, divide them by color and all that stuff. And I find some figures, and they were cut. I painted over them. Because, of course, back then, not only Lego didn't have that huge of a collection that they had back then, but even some pieces that I loved, I couldn't afford to have that many of them. So some of them, I was trying to make my version of them just to have them. So we'll observe them, then melt some plastic to try to build like an armor or something.
But you probably also,
their face.
You also learn the joy of the struggle of making. And I think that is another thing that's a muscle you train. And people usually stop right in front of, there's people who will get the gym membership, go park in the car, get all the clothing for the gym, and they won't work out. Right. So it's a similar thing. If you can just get into the door, if you can just start, you'll see that the joy is actually the doing, not the arriving at the goal.
Yeah. Right. And not only that, like, I imagine, like, if I was a rich kid, like that came from money, I would just, I love this figurine. Dad, can you buy me? Or Mom, can you buy me that? And I will get anything I want immediately. Instead, since we couldn't have everything, I had to made my own. So, that I could.
You're a real hero of the people. You're like the blue collar hero. You're basically the Bruce Springsteen of this podcast. If I figured it out. No, but it's true.
Again, it's this mentality of if I cannot have that, let's find a way to make my version of it and
Yes.
still have it somehow, you know?
Yes, and that's
think the
literally
spirit
the
of that-
metaphor probably for my whole career, and I think most of us.
Yeah, that's why it's resounded
yeah.
to me.
If I don't
Yeah,
have
but he's the
a
art
clear
director
path.
of Mondo. You made Legos. You know what I mean? I think there's a.
I mean, there's
No, but come on, be fair. Mateo's work is
there's
fucking
levels
next
to it.
level.
All right. I'm just registering. Listen, I think there's something to be said about, I mean, everything that we're talking about, amazing, obviously super inspiration. But if we take a step back, here's the, this speaks to our own personal biases, because I think we're all tuned into the same frequency. There's a couple of times we can line up 100 people, like brand new to sort of like the version of the frequency that we're broadcasting. And maybe 2 or 3 of them will understand and go, I understand the spirit of that. And I will inhabit it forever, between like their early 20s all the way up. And I think, and this speaks to conversations that I've had with fellow artists that I was growing up with, who have since filtered themselves out, naturally selected themselves out of the field that we're in. And it's sad, it's heartbreaking, because I know a handful of them. I'm like, oh my gosh, if you had just pursued,
Yes.
and I make it so simple to go like, oh, if you had just continued down this path, we'd be celebrating together.
Yes.
We'd be climbing this mountain together, you know? And I'd come to realize, oh, some people aren't built for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
So the part that I really love is when I see someone who goes like, I know there is to your point, there is a road built that takes you up to a certain point.
Yes.
But the people that I celebrate are the ones that go, that's nice. But I know that threshold, and I know how to go beyond that, or I know how to go off the beaten path, or at least there's a mechanism inside of those people that goes like, that's nice, but I'll go this way. You know, they're not trying to be jerks, but they just understand. They're just built differently to go like, I want to go this way instead. You know, I want to go discover the path that's less traveled, or build the road for myself. And that's really freaking awesome.
Yeah,
so
man.
those
And
people.
did you guys grow up with other artist friends that like you thought took it seriously too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did not.
Absolutely.
I did not.
didn't
And I
No,
used
me
to,
neither, yeah.
I used to like, I think more than anything, I wanted to meet those people, you know, and I wanted to have a reason.
Yeah.
Cause then what would happen is little by little, I would find them over, as I got older.
Sure.
But I wasn't worthy of them in the sense that like, yeah, we could hang out and be friends, but they're going to get to work at some point. I'm just going to fart around. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so a lot of it for me is I used to picture that if I ever got a real professional gig, like with Marvel or DC or Image, that after a few of those, you would go to the convention. They would invite you to the after party or whatever it is, right?
Sure.
And there was almost like this fraternity that you would be inducted into. And
your
you'd be
jacket.
like, they would be like, hey, don't worry. We're going to show you the ropes now, and you'll never have to worry again. And I really had that idea in my head until I started.
Almost like a
That doesn't-
mafia, like a
that doesn't
Cosa
happen.
Nostra thing.
No,
Yeah.
yes. Spoiler alert. Shit doesn't exist. It's like, in
Right,
fact,
right, exactly.
yeah, it's like the Stonecutters is what I picture from The Simpsons. But like, yeah, you get to a point where I just wanted. I think 'cause I was very, my early 20s. I had this like fantasy that one day, like Frank Miller would be like, you did it, kid. That kind of dumb shit like that. Something dumb like that. And then I'd be like, no matter what happens after that point, I did get the seal of approval. Like he would shake my hand, and that's it. Like you're in the brotherhood. But so I would always like hope for something like that, just to someone to tell me, hey, you did it. You're good enough. You got to a point where you're accepted by the people that you admire and respect. And that was such a thing for me when I was younger that it took a lot of time to realize that is like not it. Like that's not it. Like you get to the point you will meet these people, and some of them you will be delighted that they're even better than you anticipated, but they won't be able to do much to help you. They'll just pat you on the back, right? Or you'll meet the people and they're fucking nightmares. And then you have to forget the meeting them, because then it kind of kills the inspiration the work would give you. For sure. So that was a big moment for me, is kind of like killing the sense that there is a savior or some kind of like finish line, frankly. Yeah. That it's just the goal, the prize for doing the work is being able to wake up tomorrow and continue to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll speak to my experience when I was growing up. I did, and this is high school, so it wasn't like elementary, going back as early as 6. But once I was in high school, I had a bunch of friends who drew with me, and specifically 2 or 3. And then once I crossed into the professional sort of like, hey, here we are as struggling artists, and everybody started getting jobs because they crossed that talent threshold where they were actually relevant in the field that they were going through. The part that's really super heartbreaking for me is the moment, and I think you guys I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but the moment the passion turned into a job, and that's all it became, right? And that's, I don't know if you guys know this, but I freaking love drawing. Like it's the thing that I do. Right?
I had no idea.
It's my passion day to day. If my wife were to ask me right now, what are you doing? I'm all like, I'm wasting time with these guys, but I'd rather be drawing.
Same. I always think that, right? Like not this, but in general, yes.
No, I mean specifically this. You know what I mean? I love meeting you, people, but I think we could have done this like at a dinner somewhere.
Could have been an email.
So like it was heartbreaking for me, for them to sort of, like you were talking about comfort earlier, it became their comfortable space where it's like, oh, now I have a career. Right. This is what I set myself up for. This is what I've been training for since forever. But I don't know, either through fear and or some level of just like comfort, which is not bad, by the way. I don't want to diminish. You worked so hard to get here. Yeah. Please inhabit this space. But I think where we contrasted is where I was like, this is this, and I'm guilty of this recently, and I kind of kicked myself for it. But like, you got to the place where you're celebrated, you're well compensated, but you never set up the next uncomfortable space to go into. Right. And so that's when the heartbreaking happens for me, to go like, we could do so much more as a collective if we go into this space together. Let's go get uncomfortable. And they all had their reasons for not doing it, all of them legitimate. But I think there's always that thing. And I want to go back to the spirit of what you were talking about, 40 minutes ago, which is, yes, there's things that's going to happen in your life. Like in Shawn's case, he accidentally fell into this new passion of tattooing. But as a muscle, if you want to develop it early, it's going to serve you so much later, decades in your life, which is always find a way to put yourself in that uncomfortable space 100%. within the context of your body, of your work, because you don't know. I would rather have it so that I'm making the choice to go into that space, as uncomfortable as it is, rather than be served, hey, you're no longer relevant in this space that you used to be super passionate about. Killer. We've moved on from you. You know what I mean?
That's the hardest thing to see. That is the hardest thing to see.
Yeah.
That's a killer. And it's so poignant. I think that exactly, but learning that muscle early, right? I used to tell my students, I'm like, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. And that sounds like a thing you just say, but if you dissect it, get comfortable in that, because then you're always going to be comfortable. Life is if we're lucky, we have the ability to just be uncomfortable in this, especially in this journey. All the critiques you had to go. I mean, when I was in art school, I had to do these critiques all the time. Where it was a conceptual art school. So it was like, if you've seen that movie, Art School Confidential, if you haven't seen that movie, anybody watching, please watch it. And
read the comic. Read the
read the comic. It's brilliant. It's so close to reality. And I used to get like eviscerated for just representing something in an image, like literally showing the thing I'm talking about was a sin. And I would get roasted publicly, like in front of all the student body of the department, all the professors. When I was doing those stop motion sets, that were just like little. Like I wanted to be Brothers Quay and Adam Jones from Tool, like where they had those videos. And one time, one of the professors told me like, "What you're doing is like." You're like those cat calendars at the grocery store where they have the cats set up doing little human errands and things like that. I'm like, fuck. And then another student was so emboldened to stand up and it's like, I guess you're an artist in the way that Hello Kitty is art. And actually, you might be worse than that. This is all public in front of everybody. Might be worse than that because his goal was to make money, or their goal was to make money. You're not doing either. And dude, so like those kind of things,
rough.
Dude, like that was again before you had the online communities or seeing other people struggling the same way you struggle, or having those friends in the space. And I would just feel like I'm in a black hole that I can't get out of for fucking years, dude.
For sure.
It was so hard, and I don't know why I kept going. I can't tell you. Like, as a logical person, the feelings were so bad, and the people around me were my friends. My students were my friends, but they were doing the conceptual thing. God bless them. I don't know what they did with that skill set. You know, and but at the time I was like, I felt like a piece of fucking shit. I felt like constantly hated on by the people who I wanted to impress as my professors. A couple of them were supportive, but and so I don't know what it was that drove me or people in my position to keep going. It's just there's this weird feeling. Like people would say, "Oh, you're born with that. You were born with that gift. You're born with it." You've heard that, I'm sure. And I'm like, I try not to get insulted by that anymore. And I think what it means is, because we put so much work into it, you're born with whatever it is that inspires you to continue through the adversity.
For sure.
Right.
Because I know a lot of people in my life who I love to death, who are family, who are close friends, and they literally do not have that. They don't have that.
Oh, yeah.
They are like rats in a maze that hit a wall. They go, "Oh, turn around, go this way now." And it's just like, we don't push through walls. We go around, we go back, whatever it is. Right. And so when I look around at this community and the people that I work with, and everybody has a similar story. If you've gotten to a point where you are successful enough to not need another job, to not need someone to support you, then you are probably the person who, when you see a wall, you go, "Give me a hammer. We got to break this thing down."
Right.
And that's inspiring.
Yeah, I think it speaks to what we were talking about, which is to say, like, being comfortable with that uncomfortability.
Yeah.
Right. I think when you have it's part nurture and part nature, right? Some people are just built to scale and or push through those walls, but something had to have happened in which you were trained to go, like, I'm just going to continue, you know? And I think, you know, somebody, the previous job that I had was talking about this. How did they phrase it? They were talking about this doom that is AI. Yeah. And in the back of my head, I thought, like, why am I not worried about that as much as other people are? You know, like, I should be worried. Don't get me wrong. It is this sort of like oncoming juggernaut that like has profoundly changed our industry. And I don't know, in the most positive ways. I don't have a crystal ball, but like the sentiment behind it was like, this is awful. But it didn't worry me. And I'd realize, because I'd gone I'd gone like 20, 30 years of my career in which everything was being told to me, like, this isn't going to work. This is this is the dump truck that's going to slam right into your face. And I go like, but I've the spirit of what you're talking about, I've dealt with that already. So I'm not scared of it. No. You know,
I think we're all old enough to remember when Photoshop was AI, right? Like,
for sure.
Right. And Photoshop, if you like, I was in a Photoshop class, and other artists were like shaming me for even taking the class.
For sure.
And I think AI is going to have, it's a gun. It's a gun that you can hurt someone with, or it's a gun that you can hurt yourself with, or it's a gun that you can hunt and get food for your family. And I don't think we understand what that looks like specifically yet, because it's still shoddy. It's not really the tool that it will probably end up being.
Yeah.
But I do think that what you guys do and what we try to do is the solution, which is to platform the artist. It's not the work. Yeah. The work is, hey man, I love my work. I love your guys' work. I truly do. None of it is as important to me, especially when I was younger, as the idea of the artist. The idea of the artist to me was always the most important thing. And it was also, as a fan of rock music growing up and hip hop, and like, I loved the music, but I loved how these people pushed, you know, and they pushed through things. I think of Rage Against the Machine on Saturday Night Live, you know, and they got they had the Steve Forbes hosting, and they pulled the flags off and all that whole story. That's so great. I think about, you know, people who struggle and live shittily but they're so fucking happy that they're, and that happiness, you can't buy it.
For sure.
And I just think that this era that has come really like in the pandemic on, where we all got comfortable being on camera and talking about how tough this shit is. Because if you go back and look back at interviews before that, there is a difference. There's a lot of like people kind of masking that struggle and kind of like, yeah, you know, I'm just happy to be here and I'm happy this worked, you know, kind of thing. Where now it's very much this zeitgeist of, it's fucking hard, but it's awesome. Yeah. And if you want to enjoy life, get fucking in the dirt with everybody else and realize that it doesn't matter what tool comes down, what technology changes, who are you going to party with? Your fucking AI art friend? Like you're going to want to hang out with all of us. Like to me, getting to know all you guys, going to a convention where I'm friends with other artists and we have a hard day and doing the thing that we do. But after everybody shows up at a bar and is just grabbing a drink or talking, that's the juice, man. Because when I see all you, I go, this is a reflection of what I quested for. It's a reflection of myself. We're all people who struggle down a path. Life has a lot of meaning because of that. What I own and what I can provide for my family really fucking means something to me. And I know the difference. I know where I was. And so that you can't replace with a tool. You know, you still need the person to be a symbol of persevering.
Yeah. But to be fair and to counteract what I'm saying in such a way, I understand why why people are afraid of it, because they never had the experience that we had, you know, to go like, oh, and they'd never had the training to sort of like build the tenacity to say that won't affect me. It's just doom. Right. Yeah. I think it's what the spirit of what I'm trying to, echo is to say, maintain and persevere. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. Because eventually you're going to get the level of, hopefully you're going to get the level of confidence to be like, I don't care what the tool is. I know how to thrive within that space.
Hell yeah.
Right. Whether it be Photoshop, whether it be AI, whether it be.
Yeah.
Yeah. This reminds me of an interview from a few years ago to Louis C.K., the comedian. And at a certain point, he said, it doesn't matter like if tomorrow I lose everything, which ironically happened. He got canceled. Yeah. But it was like, even if I had to start from zero tomorrow, I have the tools to start from zero. So I'm not worried about that. And this whole conversation, this final conversation about AI, it really reminded me of that phrase. And I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's also, and I didn't see the interview, but I think it's got a lot to do with is like not just having the tool, because I say now, dude, if I had the internet and the access to like on-demand printing that we had, we didn't have back in the day, I think it's because the key difference, and I think you gave it to that kid who's, you know, lawyer father, eventually ended up thanking you for, it's the confidence. Right. Like there's very few people who are built in with that at a young age. They kind of develop that confidence based on experience. Those who do have that confidence, they're either freaking amazing and or assholes. And I love them equally, you know. But I think once you cross an experience / whatever, they are generally an experience threshold. Once that confidence gets built into you, now it's a button that you can press and go like, I know how to deal with that. Once
and it can be applied to everything. Like he wasn't talking necessarily about comedy. Like it was like, if tomorrow I cannot be a comedian anymore, I'll know that I'll find a way to become something else and enjoy that process, because I know how to enjoy. I have the tools to enjoy a different process now because I know the base of the process.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a conversation that I had my wife just as recently as 2 weeks ago.
All right, look, let's end this part of the episode there.
That fucked my mom,
because it's a good good callback, and then we'll do the Patreon stuff. So Matteo,
Oh, by the way, Peter, if you want to plug something, is there?
Oh yeah.
Good.
No, you guys can find me anywhere online at Attack Peter. How about that?
Perfect.
Awesome.
Oh, it's still going.
right, knock it off. Let's go.
He's like breathing through it.